White culture superior to black culture in every single goddamn way. When you hear black people say white people don't have any culture.
And another thing I want to say, I think that black people are superior. We are superior. Everything that we do.
Black people were God's favorite and they were the superior race. And it was interesting to be raised with that mentality because
one of the reasons the black man and black woman are so hated in this world is because we're the only people on earth who can reproduce ourselves.
White people say they are the superior race, whilst black people are also claiming that they are rather the superior race. What do you think between white people and black people? Who do you think is the superior race in this world? There are some white people that are actually sharing the reason why they think white people are the superior race, and black people are also sharing their thoughts on this particular topic. I don't want to talk much. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. You don't lose anything by liking. Just give the video a thumbs up. Let's go into the videos, watch, come back and talk.
White culture superior to black culture in every single goddamn way. When you hear black people say white people don't have any culture, what they're really trying to say is black culture is superior to ours. So let me get this straight. You think mumble rap, skinny jeans, twerking, obnoxious women, friendly fire, and welfare is superior to getting educated, making breakthroughs in science, technology, and medicine, spending a lifetime mastering your craft, and then building civilizations? What the fuck is wrong with your motherfucking brains, yo?
You do realize you used a hip-hop song as the background music in your anti-black culture video, right? You fucking moron. Anyway, let me tell you something from a position of actual lived experience, because clearly you're hiding in some little white town in the middle of nowhere cowering in fear of black people. I've lived in literally the whitest major city in all of America, and I currently live in one of the blackest major cities in all of America, and the neighborhood I live in is quite literally like a 50-50 split, white and black. It would be your worst nightmare, apparently. Now that that's been established, let me say this very clearly. Black culture, so much better than white culture. It's not even fucking close. And no shade to Portland. Portland's a beautiful city, but Atlanta is just different. It feels alive. It's got vibrance. White culture is just like a fucking hospital bed flatline by comparison. It's the reason why pop culture is so dominated by black culture. It's because it's popular, hence the word pop. And here's the other thing. I have been the only white person in a room full of black people so many times in Atlanta, Georgia, and you know how many times the black people in those rooms have made me feel uncomfortable for being white? 0 fucking times. Find me a black person who's never felt threatened by a room full of white people. I'll wait. On this narrative of like, oh, white people have only created great things and black people have only destroyed them. Shut the fuck up. Holy shit. Go read a book besides Mein Kampf, you piece of shit.
Why are white people superior in the world? Because we're better. We really are. Because we think more than everyone else. And people are like, no, black people think you don't. What's black culture in America? It's gang culture. Why not make black culture in America scientific thinking? You know why it's not, because you're stupid. Because your refusal to wait a generation for results. So you'd rather shoot your own people in the street. Black culture in America is shooting other black people and blaming white people because they shot other black people.
I'm Dr. Michael H. Ford, and let's talk about what you just saw. A white man just said black culture in America is gang culture. Let's dismantle that with history, because the audacity is extraordinary. He said white people are superior because they think more than everyone else. Let's start there. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the first successful open heart surgery in 1893. Dr. Charles Drew developed the blood bank that has saved millions of lives worldwide. Lewis Howard Latimer improved Edison's light bulb and made it last longer. Without him, electric light doesn't reach the masses. Garrett Morgan invented the traffic light. Marie Van Britten Brown invented the home security system. These are not opinions. These are documented historical facts. White supremacy has never been about intelligence. It has always been about access. Access to education, access to resources, access to opportunity. Those are not the same thing. He said black culture in America is gang culture. Let me tell you something. Black culture in America is the Harlem Renaissance, one of the greatest literary and artistic explosions in human history. It is jazz, it is blues, it is the foundation of virtually every popular music genre that exists today. It is the civil rights movement which produced the most sophisticated nonviolence resistance strategy the world has ever seen. It is Howard University, it is Spelman College, it is Morehouse, it is institutions of excellence built specifically because black people were legally barred from white institutions. That is not gang culture, that is excellence excellence under oppression. He said black people harm their own communities and blame white people. Black poverty and urban violence are direct descendants of redlining, a federal policy that legally prevented black families from building generational wealth for decades. They are descendants of the destruction of Black Wall Street in Tulsa in 1921, the wealthiest black community in American history, burned to the ground by white mobs while the government watched. These are not excuses. These are documented federal policies with documented consequences that this man clearly knows nothing about. He called black people stupid. He said this while being unable to name a single fact. The most dangerous kind of ignorance is the kind that comes with confidence. History disagrees with everything that he said, every single word. Healing starts with knowing. Follow for more.
And another thing I want to say, I think that black people are superior. We are superior. Everything that we do, we dominate it. Every little thing. Some of the best entertainers are black. Sports is full of black people. We have invented everything.
We need to evolve past this. This is delusional. Notice she talked about sports and entertainment because those are the two areas we dominate. And what's even more funny about it is she said we dominate in every little thing and then went on to mention the two big things that we dominated. So aside from sports and entertainment, what do we dominate in that's positive? I can give you a list of things that are negative, but that's positive. What do we dominate in other than sports and entertainment? So I got curious and I was looking up GDPs of different countries. From my research, it seems Nigeria is the largest country that's predominantly black, GDP-wise. They have a GDP of 514 billion. For Middle Eastern countries with a majority Middle Eastern population, it's Saudi Arabia with 1.07 trillion. Asian majority countries, China, 18.5 trillion GDP. Latin majority countries came out to be Brazil with a $2.1 trillion GDP. And predominantly white, well, it's the US with a $26.7 trillion GDP. So of all of those, the one that's predominantly black has the lowest GDP. What continent struggles with poverty the most? The African continent. What continent has the most black people on it? The African continent. The real world does not show us that black people are superior in every aspect, or just flat out superior. And this delusion, it doesn't benefit anybody. And some people are going to say, oh, you're hating on black people. No, I'm just being honest. I'm not being delusional. And I'm not going to lie and be delusional just to side with people that have the same skin color as me, because it gets us nowhere. But she wasn't done.
Black people, we have invented everything. Self-lubricating engine, airplanes, cell phones, everything, stoplights, everything. We are superior and they know that. They know that, which is why they're trying to keep us down. Which is why they try to make us feel like we want shit. Whole time they ain't shit.
This is actually what a significant portion of black people have not figured out yet. The vast majority of white people are not worried about us. They are worried about paying their bills, keeping their jobs, taking care of their families, paying their credit card debt, growing their wealth, surviving. The vast majority of them are not worried about how do we keep these black people down? How do we keep them hating themselves? They are not worried about that. So many of us are over here fighting this non-existent battle. We're literally punching air. Like, if you truly think about it, many black people are over here in the corner, punching air, fighting an invisible enemy that doesn't exist, while all the other races are more focused on growth and development and becoming better. And then, as a result of us fighting non-existent enemies and putting a bunch of our energy towards that compared to growth, right? When we see other races outpacing us and growing faster than we are, or having more success than we do, we blame it on racism in the system, not realizing that now we are our own biggest problem. Now, with that being said, yes, don't get it twisted. African Americans have made significant contributions to the United States. That's undeniable. With that being said, we need to get out of the corner fighting imaginary enemies that don't exist and focus more on ourselves, holding ourselves accountable and becoming better. This will be much better for us compared to us continuing to delusionally perpetuate these ideas about an imaginary enemy that's attacking us. We need to focus on ourselves and be accountable far, far more than we do worried about everybody else. And if you pay attention, amongst the black community, you do not hear a lot of personal accountability. You'll have some people talking about it here and there, but the majority of black Americans will rally around racism, history, slavery, and the terrible things the white man did. He used that as a scapegoat to not hold ourselves accountable. It's holding us back, and it's not helping anybody, including the country. It only actually causes more racial division. And if you're asking yourself, why is he even making this video? Why is he saying this? Yeah, good question. I mean, I think Black Americans today focus too much on race and cause too much racial division. And I think as Black Americans start to succeed more, there will be less cause for them to create racial division and blame things on history, slavery, and the white man. Also, I think the key to Black Americans doing better is us and not the system. So if I can take our focus away from the white man, history, slavery, racism, and all these other things and create a sense or a focus on accountability, like self-accountability and personal decision-making, like really holding yourself accountable. I think if we focus on that compared to history, slavery, and the white man, I think we will see much, much more success within the Black community in America. And I think that benefits America as a whole in multiple ways.
So I was raised that Black people were God's favorite and they were the superior race. And it was interesting to be raised with that mentality because I think it's different than a lot of how other like white people were raised. And I do believe that if more people were raised this way, the world would be a little bit better of a place and maybe we can get along a little bit nicer together. Obviously, there's pros and cons to everything. So I would love to discuss the pros and cons of what it was like to be raised with this mentality, as well as like what you think about it and what you think we should do going forward to raise the next generation of children who are carrying the future for us. So how this mentality came about, I was really quizzical and curious as a child and very outspoken. It's interesting to look back now that we're in this ginger talk right now. I'm kind of reliving a few of the silly little traumas that we face as gingers. And I noticed that I was more outspoken between the ages of 0 and 8. And once I started getting really made fun of as a ginger, I kind of lost my voice and I wasn't as brave or outspoken and I was shy and timid. So it's kind of interesting to have that realization now, so many years later. Anyway, back to the important topic here. The way that this mentality was brought on to me was, as I said, I was very outspoken and, you know, I was quizzical and curious as a child. So before the age of 6, I asked my mom, why do we call them Black people when they're more different shades of brown? And I asked her, why do people treat them differently or call them names? Like, what does this mean? Why is this happening? And how do you explain race and racism to a child that is under the age of 6 in a way that they can understand? Because obviously they're not going to be able to comprehend or grasp the entirety of the depth of what racism really truly is. So how do you explain that to a child? She knew that I loved my brownies and my cookies baked a little bit longer than you're supposed to because the crispy edge of the brownie was always my favorite. And I loved when the chocolate chip cookie was a little bit crispy on the outside and a little gooey on the inside. And that was the perfect way to bake the cookies and bake the brownies. So she used that analogy. And yes, it sounds crazy, but as a 4-year-old child, it made perfect sense. And she used that analogy and she said, you know how you like your cookies and your brownies baked a little bit extra? That's kind of what God did with Black people. He took more time and more love into creating Black people. And that's why they're a little bit darker than you. He just baked them a little bit longer. That's how she described race to me. And she said that anybody who talks badly about them or is mean to them is just jealous. So right away, I was kind of just like completely infatuated and just in awe of Black people because I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it like to be God's favorite? What is it like to, you know, just be loved a little bit more from God? Like, I just thought it was incredible and amazing. And so I always just gravitated towards Black people because I was like, oh my God, like they're so lucky. Do they know how lucky they are? Like, how cool is it that God spent a little bit more time on them? I was fascinated by it.
Anyone who says anything about a superior race needs to say goodbye and leave. Like, please. I thought this fucking thing, I thought this was going to die off soon. I thought we learned from watching, it happen throughout history. All the genocides, all of that, the same ideology that she was using.
One of the reasons the Black man and Black woman are so hated in this world is because we're the only people on earth who can reproduce ourselves within any other people. If I lay with a Latino, an Arab, an East Indian, a Native American, a European Jew, an Anglo-Saxon female, she's producing a black child. No matter what man a black woman lays with, she produces a black baby. No other group can do that. And the European in particular can only reproduce himself and his own woman. If the white man wants a white child, he can only copulate with the white woman because his genetic power is so weak that he has to stay within his community in order to reproduce himself. And that's why the gun, as the late great Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, rest in eternal peace, spoke of in her ISIS Papers book that everybody should read. The gun is the white man's equivalent to your penis. The black man's penis can change the color of an entire race in 50 years. White man can't do that. So he uses the gun for his genocide. We do not have to exterminate a people to eliminate a people. We can reproduce them out of existence. He has to exterminate them out of existence. We get it wrong. Brothers in the hood think the white man is envious of your physical size, of your genitalia. That has nothing to do with it. He doesn't envy the genitalia because not every black man is blessed with a large genitalia. What he envies is your reproductive power, your ability to go anywhere in the world and create a black nation, no matter what the color of the woman.
We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel, and to keep our black Americans down, we lynched. But yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them. But yet they rose and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose. And so now we are doing exactly what the Pharaoh did at the end, sending out a decree, kill them. So until we admit that when we wrote this Constitution that all men are created equal, that we never intended to include our black brothers and sisters, our nation may end up facing exactly what the Egyptians faced when they refused to let God's people go. So I'm going to say this to my white fellow Americans, that the bloodshed that is on its way is not on the hands of our fellow black Americans, but is on our hands. We are the ones that are refusing to let God's people go. We are the ones that are refusing to acknowledge that we do not value our black brothers and sisters as equal individuals or equal Americans as us white men. And to my black brothers and sisters, the racial issues, as I've said, have been there from the very foundation. But why do we see it more? Because there's a shifting. See, us white men have been at the head since the foundation. But we've had a black president. And you know, we've done everything in our power to keep him from really changing things. Now we have another minority rising to the top, a white female. What does that say? Those of us who are white men who have been at the head are now starting to see and fear that we are going to become the tail. And we know what we've done to you. And so now we're fearful that you're going to do to us what we have done to you. But I will say this. I've lived in a black community for 23 years. I've never been treated the way that this country has treated my black Americans. So I call out my white Americans to say we better heed, repent, acknowledge, and change. Because if we don't, I just want to again say this. The bloodshed.
Black New World Order is a theory that black men are superior than white ones, which is interesting because usually, there's racism against the black ones, right? But like this one is racism against white, saying that black men are better because they're bigger and they can make women happier all over the world. All women are searching for something big, and there's not a lot of men that can provide that. just black.
Why black men be leading the game since day one in the dating market? Let's address that, okay? Now, this is based on some girls' chats and everything, leaked info. So I'm sorry, girls. I just got to spell it out because these men are not giving me peace. So number one, they're smooth talkers. Smooth talkers always win in the dating game, okay? Indian guys, instead of crying in my comment section, know how to talk to women. That is so important. That's going to open doors for you. Who doesn't like a charming man? Like charisma, energy, always win in dating. That's number one. Number two, body. They're athletic. They got great genetics, okay? Another attractive quality. A man being hot? Are you kidding me? And if they're good in the bed, that's a bonus, okay? Number four, they're handy. A handy man is a useful man. And a useful man is a sexy man. You see how the formula works? That's how it works, okay? Number four, they spend money on you. Attractive as hell. That's attractive. Okay? So this is called a total package. And if Indian men or any other men who you want to improve, just work on these skills.
So when you listen to that white guy talking about white people being the superior race, he is making reference to black culture in America and making it seem like that's the only culture that black people have. But black Americans are like subsets or a subset of Africa or black people. If you really want black people, like you really want to see black people and black culture and whatever, it is Africa. You understand? So making reference to only black American culture in America, for me, I don't think it's the right thing to do. You understand? Africa is the mother of black people around the world. So if you want to really know or learn about the culture and also get to see the impacts that black people have actually made around the world, I think you should actually begin with Africa. And also, black people are saying they are the superior race. And some are saying that when it comes to sports, for instance, we are leading. When it comes to music, movies, comedy, like entertainment generally, we are there. And the lady also went ahead to say that we made a lot of inventions. We've actually made a lot of inventions and all that. I don't know what you think about this, but I want you to share your thoughts in the comment section. Let's know what you think, and who do you think is the superior race here between white people and black people. Remember, there are also the Indians, there are also the Chinese and the Arabs. So who do you think is the superior race? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Let's know what you think. Thank you so much for watching.